Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner, and I'm here to do another episode of Jewelry with Jen for the DeKalb County Library System. Now, I know we normally do jewelry, but I thought since we have Christmas right around the corner, that we could do something really neat, like stocking stuffers. I wanted to do something that both adults and kids could do. It's kind of really easy to do and really pretty at the same time. So what I thought we would do is take a plain pen blank like this, and I'm sure you've probably seen some of these around, and do really pretty, make a pen out of it. So we go from this to this with the with some beads. You do need, because this stem is rather thick, you need a specific type of beads. So you need the European or the large hole beads in order to string them on your pen. And in our case, because this is a class and we don't want to just put some beads on the pen and then close it up and be finished, we're going to be making some of our beads. So we're going to be making our own wire beads. We're going to make a bead cage and put some, let's see if I can get it up there where you can see it. We're going to make a bead cage there, and put some beads inside of it. And we're going to make a coiled bead like this one. I can get it off my little display here. We're going to make some coiled beads, or a coiled bead like that. So that's what we're going to do today. We're also going to do a pencil. We're going to take a plain pencil and we're going to string, we're going to do some wire wrapping and twisting and make a nice circular array of beads up the ink pen or up the pencil. So let's get started. We're going to do that. It's a lot of fun. It's very, very easy, very simple, very colorful and festive to look at. So, and I did this before. I've never done the two together. The pens are always a big hit. They're so pretty when you get finished. And then the pencils are a lot of fun and they're pretty too. And what I really like about the pencils is once you it's like a vine of beads climbing up your pen. And as you sharpen your pencil, you can scrunch the vine together until the beads get closer and closer together. And then when you're finished with your pencil, you just pull it off and put it on another pencil. So let's get started because it's so much fun. Well, I'll show you what we need. We need round nose pliers. We need chain nose or square nose pliers. We need cutters. And for the, I'm going to bring you down to the other camera. For the pen, which is where we're going to start, you need 20 or 22 gauge wire. Now, if you're using 22 gauge wire, you can use coated wire and it's a little heavier, and that's why I say that's appropriate. You can also use 18. I would not go any smaller in size than 22 gauge. Now remember, the larger the gauge, the smaller the wire. So 22 gauge is as small as you want to go. You can also go 20 and 18. I'm going right in the middle with 20 gauge wire. And you can, if you use the 22 gauge wire, I would suggest using coated wire. Here. Coated artistic wire. And you can, and the reason I say that is because the coating makes it a little thicker. So it's more, it's closer to between 21 and 20 gauge. So 20 gauge, 21 gauge, and for the wrapping part, the coiling part, this coiling part here, you need 24 gauge wire. So to start with, I need, my glasses on here, 12 inches of the 20 to 22 gauge wire, which is what I have here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my round nose pliers. I need to make a loop on the ends that I can use to slide my wire onto my pin. And because my pin is not that big, all I need is the tip of my pliers, about a third of the way up my pliers or quarter of the way up my pliers, and it depends on your pliers. And what I like to do is just start my loop. So I just put my pin, grab the end of my wire with the almost tip of my pliers. I'm going down about a quarter to a third of the way. And again, it depends on your pliers because all pliers are not the same size. So I'm just going to make a loop. So I've got a nice loop there. And then I'm going to test it. Before I go any further, I'm going to test it and make sure it goes easily over the pin of my ink pen, the stem of my ink pen, and it does. So we're good there. So now what I want to do is give myself 4 or 5 rotations. You can do 6 rotations. I'm going to go with 5 and see what it looks like, because I want it to be a nice showing there. So I've got, just making my rotations. I just keep rotating. Now I'm at my second one. There's the tip, 1 and 2. Let's go a third one. And I just keep rotating. And I want my links, my loops, to be nice and close together. So just keep rotating. And that is 4, 1, there's my tip, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to give it one more rotation all the way around. So there we go. Now this little tip on here is sticking up, so I want to push it down. So it's nice and close to the other wires. And another way that you can do that is to just put it on your pliers and then take your other pair of pliers and just squish the tip down. There. So now it's not sticking up. Okay, so now I have what's going to be the base for my coils. So I'm finished with that. I'm going to put that to the side here. Finished with that for the moment, and I'm going to go to my 24 gauge. Now the 24 gauge wire is going to be coiled and we're going to slide it over our 20 gauge or 22 gauge wire. And the way we're going to do that, again, we just need a very, very small loops to go over this wire, because this wire is not very wide either. So what I want to do is take 30 to 36 inches of wire of the 24 gauge. I'm going to go down almost to the very tip of my pliers. And I'm going to make a loop. Again, it's just very small. Once I have my loop, I'm going to check, make sure it fits. nice and easy over my wire. It doesn't have to be tight, but you want to make sure it'll go over. And then what I want to do is just continue coiling. And this wire is very, very soft and malleable. So you don't have to clamp down on it with your pliers. You want to just have enough grip that you can rotate and keep rotating. Now, another way that you could do this is to put it on your wire and wrap it around. But I find that it's easier to do it with the pliers. You can do either or, but I wanted to show you another way to do it. So I'm just using my pliers, and notice that the tip of my wire is closest to the tip of my pliers, and the part that I'm wrapping is closest to the back of my pliers. I just want to make sure that I keep it in the same spot on my pliers so that the coils are the same size. And as I wrap, as I coil, my coils on the end will start to extend out beyond the tip of my pliers. But you can see from where the top half of the pliers is, that you're still in the right place for your coil. I'm going to just keep coiling. We have a lot of coiling to go. And every once in a while, I want to just check and make sure that my coils are nice and close together. And just keep my coiling. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. It's a lot of coiling to do. You can see we have a lot left. Oh, and now we've got a lot of dead air. That's boring. Well, I would sing Christmas songs, except that you would probably run away screaming, so we won't do that. But as you can see, my coil's getting bigger. And when I see a little space, I have a little space in there that I don't want. I can just take my square pliers and just push it together, or push it together with my fingers, because like I said, this wire is very, very soft. Doesn't take much to get it to conform to what I want it to do. So I just keep wrapping, keep wrapping, keep wrapping. And if I hold my thumb close to the end of the wire, I can really control where it goes. It's not hard to do. And again, if you would rather, you can actually put it on your wire and wrap it that way. I just find it easier to do it on my pliers. I've tried it both ways. When I'm doing this teeny tiny coiling, I find it works better on my pliers. That's just me. There's no wrong way. You can do it whichever way works better for you. And I know there's several ways to do it. These aren't the only two ways. There are, what is that thing called? There's something called a gizmo that you can use for coiling if you want to go out and buy one. Think you're going to do a lot of coiling, that might be a good investment. But I am just doing it the old-fashioned way. I try to show you how to do things a little bit more manual. So if you don't have access to all of those fun toys that I see around and go, ooh, that would really be neat, you know how to do it like this. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck, because what if your toy breaks or doesn't work for some reason, and then you don't have any backup. This way, all I need is my pliers, my plain old ordinary pliers, and my 2 hands. That's it. That's all I need to do my coils. Yay! Squish these together a little bit more and keep on coiling. Okay, so in the interest of not boring you to death with my coiling and just chit chat and saying nothing in particular, I am going to continue this off camera and come back when I am almost finished with the coiling, and then we will go from there. How's that? Does that sound good? Oh, can you tell that this is a really dark green that I'm using? I said, well, since I'm going Christmas, I may as well do something kind of Christmassy. This is a very dark green. I don't think that actually shows up on camera. I can barely tell myself, but I said I would do green and gold, and this is really dark. You can barely see the color in there. So I don't think it's showing up as green, but that's okay. It's still going to be very pretty when I get finished. Now, I told you that I was going to put you out of your misery and take the rest of this off camera. Then I didn't do it. But I still have another good 2 feet to go almost. So I'm going to see how much longer it is now. Yay, we're getting there. So I'm going to shut this down for a minute. And when I come back, it will be all coiled and ready for our next step. Okay, be back in a second. All right, here is my little coil that we're going to put on our stem here. And I think I'm going to make this a little longer. Let's see this back there. I think I'm going to add a couple more links, rings onto my stem here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to add 2 more. So I have 6 links, just because I think this gold is so pretty. I'm going to go ahead and continue rotating until I have 2 more circles of wire. Squeeze them together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that enough? Yeah, I think that's good. So I've got 5 coils here. And again, you can decide how many coils you want. You can make it 3, 4, 5. It's entirely up to you to decide how long you want your ends to be. Okay, so now that I have my coiled wire done here and my little coil here, I'm going to slide that on my long stem. And I'm going to slide my my pliers down into my big coil. Oops. Oh, I forgot one more thing. Hold on just a second. I am back. Okay, sorry, somebody was knocking at the door. All right, so what I need to do right now, I've slid my little coil down over the stem of my wire. Then I put it on my pliers, and I'm just going to coil this. around the stem. And you just have to be very, very careful. You don't want to clamp down too hard. And just wrapping. And this separation that you see happening is fine too. That's part of the coiling process. And you can also just wrap it around. Just wrap that around there. Then go back and grasp it again. Wrap it around. I want to keep my coils kind of close together, as close together as I can. Just wrap it. Just be very, very gentle. Again, I have a little opening there, a little more of an opening than I want. So I'm going to push those coils together a little bit and keep going. Push them together and continue my coils until I have all of my small wire coiled around. And when I get to the end, let's get up here a little closer. Keep going. Then when I get to the end here, I'm just going to keep coiling. I'm going to go down to near the tip. And keep coiling. Now, I don't know if you can see this on camera. I'm starting on the other side. To do the coil on the other end. So what I want to do is make sure it's the same size as the other side. So I'm going to pull that tight. I'm going to use my pliers to close up this little hole. Oops, close up this little hole a little bit. I don't want it quite that large. So I'm going to close that up a little. Just pull it. Until it's a little smaller. There we go. Just want it the same size as this side. Okay, there we are. So now I'm going to finish my coiling on this side. And we can neaten it up later. So I'm just going to coil it. Until I have 5 wraps. And see how they're a little bit separated. So I'm just going to push them together with my pliers, or you can use your fingers. They're strong enough. Just going to push that together and continue until I have 5 nice rotations on the other side, just like I did on the first side. Push that together. Nice and tight. And here's where we started. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 1 more loop. And there's my start. Right down in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, let me push those together nice and neat. Just push until my coils are nice and close. So there we go. There's my bead. Now I'm going to clip off this end. And I like to push it down so that it's all nice and round before I clip, because it's a lot easier to get it to conform to the shape of the other coils if it's already partly rounded than it is if you have a straight edge sticking out. And now I can clip it right there where it's curved. I like to pull it away from the other loops a little bit so that I don't accidentally clip one of the other links. Put that off. Now I'm going to push that nice and neat down in there so that it's nicely tucked in. And then my coils, I can play with them a little bit, get them nice and close together. And there it is. There's my bead. It's going to go on my pin. That's bead number 1. There we go. Isn't that neat? That's one bead. And now the other bead that we're going to make is going to be one of these nice little bead cages that we can put beads in. Let's put that to the side. And now for the bead cage, I'm using 10 inches of wire. 10 inches of wire to make my cage. So what I'm going to do, put this over here before the lid decides to disappear from sight. Out of the way there. So what I'm going to do is kind of bend it a little bit in half and give myself a little mark. When I say mark, I just mean I want to know approximately when I get to the halfway point. And you don't have to do this, you can kind of guesstimate it. But this way, I have an idea of where to stop. So I have just a tiny little bend there. It doesn't need to be a sharp bend. In fact, you don't want it to be a sharp bend. You just want a little bit of an indication as to where you should start your next coils. So for what I want to do now is take my pliers, tip of my pliers, grab the tip of my wire, and I want to make a loop. Just a tiny little loop. I'm gonna move that out of the way so you can see better. So I'm just gonna make a little tiny loop in my wire. And I want that to be really small because again, it just needs to be big enough to slide over my little pin. I'm gonna push that together just a little bit so it doesn't have to be quite this large. That looks good. There. So I just have a little tiny little loop. I'm going to test it out again. Just make sure. Ooh, a little smaller than I need. So what am I going to do? I'm going to open it up just a little bit. I'm going to take, okay, now I'm just going to take my pliers and just open up my loop, make it a little bigger. There. Now let's continue. So now I have a loop. Let's test that out. Ah, yay. Perfect. Okay. So now I want to take my flat pliers, whichever pair you want to use, and I'm going to grab the face of my wire and I'm going to start to coil. And I want a nice tight coil. So I want my rings, my coils, my wire to wrap it around itself nice and close. So I don't want a lot of space in between my wires. Now I can move this out of the way a little bit because all I really need is that little indication right there of where I should stop. So now I'm going to continue my coiling. And again, I want my wires to be nice and close together. Just keep going and going and going till I get to that center spot. Here we go. Then I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to make a coil going in the opposite direction. So this one's going around this way. This one's going to go the opposite way. So again, I'm going to make a small loop. It's very small, just big enough to go over the stem of my pin. And that looks very close to the same size as the other side, so that'll work. Then I'm going to take my flat pliers, I'm going to grab the face of my wire, and I'm going to start coiling again. Just coil it. Nice tight wires wrapping around each other. And just keep on wrapping until I get to the center. Keep coiling. Again, we have dead air while I concentrate. It's got to be so boring for you. I am so sorry. This is one of those things that you can do while you watch television or you chat with the husband or the kids. You don't have to pay that close attention to it. Okay, so I'm right there in the bend, where the bend is. And I can continue on the other side with the other one until it meets. Now you can see where this one is a little tighter than that one. That's okay. It's a coil. It doesn't have to be perfect. But if I wanted to close these up a little bit, I would just squeeze the wires until they're closer together. Just squeeze them all the way around, squeeze my wires until everything is tighter. Just keep pushing the wires together. Until they're as tight as I want them to be. Just going to keep going, squeezing them together. Nice and tight. And while I want them to just be right beside each other, but not on top of each other. I want them side by side and nice and tight. Looking pretty good. All right. So let's finish this last little wrap here. I have everything nice and tight. Okay, so once I have my coils done, I want them right side by side. Okay, so once I have my coils completely finished, like that, I need to make this into a cage. So what I want to do, and notice how it's like an S shape. This is going around this way, and then the other goes around the other way, opposite. So now what I want to do is fold these over until one is on top of the other. Like that. There. And then you can make your cage one of two ways. You can either take your pliers or some other small item, and you can go on the inside in between the coils, and you can push out. You can just push your coils out like so. And just nice and easy. You don't want to do it too hard or too fast because you don't want to completely pull your coils apart. So I just wanted to get that started. And I can also go from the outside and pull my coils apart. I'm going to get right up here on the camera so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm just pulling my coils apart. And I just threw it somewhere. There it is. Come back here. Okay. So I'm just going to pull my coils apart. And one of the ways, easiest ways I find to do it is to take my pliers and have it on one ring and then just kind of rock back and forth. Then I don't run the risk of pulling too hard and ruining all the work that I did. So I just like to go in one ring, kind of pull it a little bit side to side, and it takes a little longer, but I don't have to do it all over again if I mess up. Let's pull it side to side, and I can go in, I can use my fingernails if you're comfortable doing that, and pull them apart. And you can see where it's starting to look like a little honeycomb type thing. So I'm starting to get my cage. Yes. And you're going to make adjustments to this as you go. Once you get your cage open, you can go back and push the wires together or pull them apart even more, depending on the type of cage that you want. If you want the wires nice and far apart, you can do that. If you want to keep them close together, you can do that, but you can see where it's starting. So I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to do that side. And again, I like to start at the top. You can start at the top and just kind of work your way. I like to kind of twist it and rock it back and forth instead of trying to just pull it, because I find that sometimes that's a little too much stress on it, and I don't want to undo all of the coiling that I've done. So I just go a little slower, a little bit at a time, until I get to a point where I can maybe slide my fingernails in. You can see where I already damaged my fingernail. Doggone it! Where I can get my fingernail in there, and I can work it apart a little bit at a time. Or you can use your pliers the same way. Just kind of work in there until I start to see my little cage. Isn't that cute? And then I can start to push my wires together until they look the way I want them to look. Push them together, pull some of them apart a little further. And it just depends on the look that you're going for. And because we're going to be filling this with small beads, I'm going to fill it up with 6 millimeter rondelles. I don't want the bars of my cage to be too far apart so that the beads won't fall out. And there we go. There's my little cage. Isn't that neat? Let's see if we can get a good look there. There's my cage. Squeeze that together a little bit more. That's my center that I'm going to stuff my beads in. And there we go. It's kind of a push-pull motion. Push it together, pull it apart until I get the piece of art that I want. All right, so now what I'm going to do is check it out on my stem. See what I got here. Let's see what I have. Isn't that neat? So now we are tasked with putting our pin together. Let's do it. So now I just need to decide where I want everything to go. So I think I'm going to start, and I've got gold and I've got silver. I'm just going all different colors. Let's try this bead. Now let's put that down in there just to get it started. Then I'm going to go to this bead. I like that. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Then what else do I want to put on here? I think I'll put this fancy schmancy bead on. Yeah, put a piece of silver on here first. There we go. Then I'll put the fancy schmancy one on. I'm going to put another silver bead on. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to put my cage on. And the good thing about my cage is I can smash it together as much as I want. But I don't want it too smashed. So let's see. I'm going to take this silver one off. I don't think I need it. And put this little guy on. See what happens. So you just basically you're just playing around to get it the way you want it to look. And then I'm going to put this silver one on, and this little guy. Let's put another little silver one on there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to put the cage on. And do I want to put something else on? Will this fit? Yeah, I think that's too many. So I'm going to put you on, and then I'm going to put my there, and then I'm going to put my silver on. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's close that up. Yes. And now I'm going to add some pretty beads in my spiral. And you don't even have to put beads in the spiral. That really looks pretty all by itself. But I want some crystal sparkle. So all I'm going to do, see this wide part that's open? That's where I'm going to put my beads in. So I'm just going to put my beads in there, as many as I can get. And then I'm going to close the bars around. What other color do I want? Let's go with this turquoise one. That's pretty. Let's put them in there. And then I think I can get one more bead in. I'm going to do a clear crystal. And then I'm going to take my bars, my rings, and I'm going to pull them down over the beads. And if you're not comfortable using your fingernails to do that, you can always use your pliers. You don't have to ruin your manicure. You can just, but this is very soft wire, so shouldn't have too many problems. Just close that up over my beads. And there we have it. Look at that, isn't that neat? And you know what, I think I'm gonna separate the color a little bit. And that's the fun about this one. These pins, you can change it to any way you want it to go. So I'm going to put you down here. It's easier when I put my beads in afterwards, but it doesn't. It's not necessary to do that. So I'm going to put that there. I think I'll put this on. And then I'm going to put my silver bead and my sparkly bead and my silver bead. And then I'm going to cap it. There we go. I think I have a winner. And what's really neat about the cages, if you think you need to tighten it a little bit, you can, if you need to tighten your pin up, you can just pull the cage wires apart so that they take up more space. But I don't think that's going to be necessary. I think we have a winner here. Isn't that neat? I like it. I have my sparkle on the bottom. Make sure my cage, my beads are nicely caged. And I'm using 6mm because I wanted to make sure that nothing was going to come out of there. So my beads are nicely caged. I have my colorful sparkle on the bottom, and I have some color on the top, and I have my dark green coiled bead in the center. And there we go. We have a nice beaded pin. Isn't that neat? Now let's do our pencil. So what we're going to do for our pencil, this is really easy. So we just want to take about 1.5 foot of wire, 24 gauge. Let's just go ahead and give ourselves 2 feet of 24 gauge wire. Snip that off. Let's get all these other things out of the way. And what we want to do is find the center of our wire. I'm just going to put the edges together. Go down here and find my center. Just wrap it around my pencil, like so. And then twist the wires together. And you want to make sure that you're twisting and not wrapping the wires. So I want to make sure that my wires are spread nicely apart, and then twisting them both at the same time. Because I don't want to wrap one wire around the other. I want to just twist them both. And if your pencil falls out, that's okay. As long as I know that it'll fit over my pencil, I'm good. So now I just have 4 twists. I put 4 twists in my wire, and then I'm going to flatten it up against my pencil, spread my wires apart like so, and I'm going to put some beads on. And I have a nice selection of seed beads here. Nice, colorful array of beads. And I'm just going to slide some on. Just put a few beads on there. Whatever order you want them in, that's up to you. How you want them to look. I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3. Ooh, that is a trade bead. Ooh, nice. 1, 2, 3. What other color do I want here? Green, gold, topaz. And then I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to put some beads on. Let's go. There we go. Okay. This is a fun one for kids to do. Put a nice bright red one on there. Okay, and then once I get my beads on both wires, I'm just going to wrap that around my pin. Like that. And then I'm going to go to the other side, cross my wires over, and twist them together again, just like I did right here. Just twist the wires together. Again, make sure they're nicely spread apart so that I'm not wrapping one around the other, but I'm actually twisting both wires at the same time. So I have a nice, pretty twist in my wire. Just like that. And then I'm going to push it against my pencil again. See, I'm starting to get a little vine look. And I'm going to grab some more beads, any ones I want. Sometimes I just like to leave my beads laying down and I can just poke my wire into them. Just as many beads as I want on there, as long as it's enough to go around to the other side of my pencil. Okay, let's do one more. There. And then I'm going to do the other side. Let's get a couple of big ones on here and then some little ones on here, just for a little contrast. Large and small if you have. It just gives it a little bit more depth if they're not all the same size. And that's one of the reasons I like seed beads, because they are all different. There we go. So I have my seed beads on. I'm going to wrap them around the pencil again. Like so. I'm going to go to the other side, cross my wires over, and twist. Are you getting the picture here? Twist my wires together 3, 4, maybe 5 times, depending on the look that you want. Push my wire against the pencil and then grab some more beads. This pretty kumquat color. It's bright orange, some green. And there is no rhyme or reason to the colors. Just whatever you want. It's kind of a hodgepodge. Oh, let's get some of the beads out here. Yeah. Have a couple more. And go to the other wire. And put some more beads on. And really, when they're really tiny, I just like to poke down into the hole. If you've ever noticed with seed beads, a lot of the times when you pour them out, the holes end up facing upward. So all you have to do is poke down in there. To get them on the wire. All right. And once again, slide my beads down, wrap them around my pencil, and cross my wires over. and twist. Do the twist. Again, making sure that I'm not wrapping a wire around one wire around the other wire. I want to make it a nice twist so it looks like a vine climbing up my pencil. And you decide how many wraps you want to do, how many twists you want to do, and you can push them together, push them up your pencil, and grab some more beads. And you just keep doing this until you have as many wraps as you want. It's entirely up to you. But what I'm going to do right now is go off camera, finish filling up my pencil with twisted beads. And then I'm going to come back and show you how to finish. And one more little one. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Get on there. I'll be back in a second. Okay, now that I have all of my beads on, I'm going to twist the rest of the wire together. Again, I'm going to make sure that they're separate, and then I'm wrapping them both at the same time. So both at the same time so that one's not just wrapping around the other. And I'm going to keep going. Before I would just do 4 or 5 or 6 twists. Now I'm going to just keep going until I've twisted all of my wire. Just keep going and going and going and going, sort of like the Energizer Bunny. So I'm just going to keep going. Well, that was not that was not supposed to happen, but there is a bit of a fix for that. If it does, I have a little twist down here. And what I can do, oh my goodness, the joys of working on camera. What I can do is go down, go back down, and twist. I'm going to twist the rest of this together. So the moral of that story is to make sure that you don't continue to twist in one place. You want to make sure that you're twisting up the wire, because if you keep twisting in one place, what just happened to me is what's going to happen. So now I'm going to take the end of this and I'm going to twist it onto my pencil. Need a little more. Twist it onto my pencil. I'm going to push that down so that meets up with the other little twist that I did have down here. I'm going to slide that down in the other wire. And you won't have to do this, hopefully, but if you do, now you know how to do it. Now I'm going to twist it up until it wraps around the other wire. And I'm going to push the ends down with my pliers. So I have a nice little repair. And then I'm going to take my ends and I'm going to do a little coil. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers, grab the tip of my wire. And you don't have to do this part. You could stop right there and just let the beads be the end. But I want to make a little bit of a coil. If I have wire left over, I like to do something with it. So I'm just going to coil it just like I would do any spiral. So I'm going to have a coiled spiral. I'm going to take my wet pliers and I'm going to continue to coil, or you can use your fingers. Either one works. Till I have a nice little coil on top, like so. Make that a little tighter. And there's my decorated pencil. Isn't that neat? And the good part about it is, like I said before, is when you start sharpening your pencil, you can just push the beads together as the pencil gets smaller, like that. And then when you're finished with it, and you want to put it on another pencil, you just slide it right off. Slide it right off, and then put it back. Oh, see, 2 pieces, and then put it back on the other pencil. And like I said, you really don't have to do this little part if you don't want to. I just thought I had some wire left over, so I would do it. And I over twist it. I don't need that little piece. So there it is. There's my nicely decorated pencil. When it's longer, I stretch my beads out a little bit. And as I sharpen it, I just push my beads together. So there we have it, folks. We have a nice decorated pencil and pen that we've made ourselves. Turn them both the same way. That would help. There we go. Isn't that neat? I love it. Do 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 do. Made our own beads. So when you get your kits, you're going to get the wire that you need to make your bead cage. You're going to get some beads to put in your bead cage. You're going to get the wire that you need to make your coiled bead. And you're going to get a couple of these European beads, these nice sparkly ones, so that you can put together a nice little pin that you can use as a stocking stuffer if you want. I'll give you a little sleeve to put them into, just so that you can be all fancy schmancy. Ta-da! Neat! Okay, that's it. That's it for our program today. I hope you're going to have fun with it. I hope you've had fun watching me mess up. And I hope that you will continue. And I did it again. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I hope that you will continue to come back and do these videos. This one I hope is, well, this one should be right in time for Christmas. So it's a lot of fun. Stick it in a stocking. Kids, you can do this for mom or dad, depending on what kind of beads that you use. You can use this for when you go back to school. If you want to keep it for yourself. Parents, you can give this to your kids, a nice way to send them back to school in style, all blinged up. And you can give this to anybody. I don't know anybody who doesn't like these pins. My sister like orders a half a dozen. At last year before last, it was 2. Last year, it was 3. This year, can I get 6 pins? Oh, okay. So I gave her 6 pins. Well, here's another one. Yep. Yeah. So I gave her 6 pins and she immediately started giving them away. I said, it's not Christmas yet. But anyway, They are a very, very nice gift. People seem to really love them and enjoy them. And if you can find the pen blanks on Etsy and Amazon, both of them have them. And then you can just do whatever you want with them. You can just buy pre-made beads to put on them, but I wanted to give you another option, especially if you're giving it as a gift. It would be really nice for you to give it your own little special touch. So I hope that you will do this. And if you do, please show me your creations because I love these pins. I think they're so, so neat. And I would love to see what you do with this just basic instruction. And if you come back, great. If you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. One way or the other, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa. If I missed anything, please forgive me, but we will see you. Well, this is not the last one before Christmas. We have a couple more to go before we take a little bit of a break until after New Year. Until then, we will see you next time, and so long.